Hello and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. In the past week, President Muhammadu Buhari was in the Chinese capital Beijing for the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. It was at that forum the Chinese government announced $60 billion for assistance and loans to boost Africa's development. So, $60 billion for Africa, which would include $15 billion of aid, interest-free and concessional loans, a credit line of $20 billion, a $10 billion special fund for China-Africa development, and $5 billion special fund for imports from Africa. In addition to that, Chinese companies are encouraged to make at least $10 billion of investments in Africa in the next 3 years. Plus, according to the Chinese president, China would implement 8 major initiatives with African countries in the next 3 years and beyond, covering fields such as industrial promotion, infrastructure connectivity, trade facilitation, and green development. And then there was the promise of Chinese support on capacity building, education, culture, health, poverty reduction, people's welfare, and people-to-people exchanges. The Chinese president added that China would continue providing free military aid to the African Union. As for Chinese investments in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari announced that Nigeria's partnership with China through FOCAC has resulted in the execution of vital infrastructure projects worth over $5 billion across the country in the 3 years of his administration. He mentioned the first urban rail system in West Africa, a $500 million project in Abuja that was commissioned in July this year. Plus, about 3 months ago, Nigeria signed an additional $1 billion loan from China for additional rolling stock of the newly constructed rail lines, as well as road rehabilitation and water supply projects. Earlier, I spoke with the president of Association of Foreign Relations Professionals of Nigeria, Ambassador Gani Lawal, on China's latest gift. Ambassador Lawal, thank you for joining us on Diplomatic Channel. Is China really giving Africa free money?
Thank you. That's a $1 million question. There's no free money anywhere. A $60 billion
question, actually.
There's no free money anywhere. There's no free lunch anywhere. See, most of the people who give out assistance, aid, loans, and things like that, they have something in view. And this is not something that's just happening one day, you know. It's a long-term strategic project that at the end of the day, they want to get at something. For instance, China, by the end of 1990, with a population of 1.4 billion, only 7% of arable land, and having a foreign reserve of over $300 billion, all kept in American fault. Now, they're now looking for a way, you know, call it money laundering, to launder their wealth so that it doesn't get trapped in the United States, because at the time they wanted to move the money, US blocked it. So their own way of investing or laundering their money is to begin to give it out to some countries as loan, and then it begins to multiply. That is the idea. There's no free money anywhere.
Oh, but are they hoping to recover this money?
They surely will recover it, because they give it out as loan, sometimes as low as 3%. You know, but what we are against is that any country who's taking loan from them should be capable of repaying it, because you are under obligation to honor your international agreement. This is part of the treaty. So once you go into an agreement with any lender, you must actually fulfill your own part of the agreement. If you don't, there are penalties that you'll have to pay for it. I'm sure you've heard that China has taken over one seaport in Sri Lanka. They are taking over Zambia airport. This is as a result of defaults, you know, in paying back their loans.
Wow. It means that, you know, if Africa is not careful, China will buy off the whole continent.
Well, we see this as a new neo-colonization. That's the way we see it. But it may not necessarily be so if you look at the way they started this thing long ago. I don't know whether you know what is called one belt, one road, OBO. They did that with about 68 countries in South Asia. and it's working fine with them. Some of them, they have the discipline to be able to pay the money. We have not had any problem around that area. But if you don't have the financial discipline, you don't have the managerial acumen to manage loan, and you go into it and you default, then it becomes a problem for you. There's nothing wrong in taking loan, to grow your business, but you must be focused and you must know what you are doing.
Well, Nigeria is getting about, I think, 15 billion. I think from that, in a large chunk of $60 billion, you feel confident we will be able to pay this back, apart from the other investments they have made?
Yes, they have another investment. They have in the Mambila Power, they have the airport, they have many investment. But Nigeria has the muscle and resources to be able to pay. But the thing is the management. You see, the problem with Nigeria is that an agreement reached by any particular government is not binding on the incoming government. So an incoming government can tell you that that is not a priority. And the problem, look at Mambila Power Project. They should have done it, but because when they signed it with Abacha and they were about to start, it was Jonathan's time. Who told them that he has no interest in the... Even Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala was interested in getting China to do the... But the people said no, because they wanted to start it, but your government said no. They brought in materials into Nigeria, according to my information, and the material just lie, rotten. So they were scared, that, okay, what we can do now is, if you need our help, it has to be in terms of other areas like airports, seaports, and things like that. So that's why they took the Abuja airport. They are going to build it. Maybe, I don't know, as their own way of saying, okay, something that we can actually take over and run, if you default. Could be the way like they have done in Zambia. Take over a national airport, and then you want to be running it yourself.
I'm wondering how this affects, or how this will affect China-Africa relations in the long run. With all these investments coming in, and then African countries expected to pay back, we know that many African countries are not as economically viable, or, in that regard, to be able to pay back certain loans. Many of them default. So how, in the long run, how will this relationship turn out?
Any African country that defaults in paying its loan, then it stands the risk of losing its national asset. So, and once you lose your asset, it's something that you've signed. So this is why some of us, we are very wary of taking some of this loan on their own terms rather than on our own terms.
So you're not excited that China is investing 60 billion?
I'm not excited at all, especially when I don't know the terms, under which we are signing. For instance, the problem is with collateralization. How do you collateralize a loan with your sovereignty? That, okay, this loan is being guaranteed with my sovereignty. Do you borrow a loan and then pledge your blood that if I fail, then you take my blood? That's death penalty for you. See, so the problem we are seeing is that some of these collateralization that are built into the Chinese loan is cause for concern. For instance, right of establishment is part of the agreement. That is, once you take our loan, we have a right to establish in your country. What that means is that all over the place, you see Chinese all over the place.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the Chinese president said was the Chinese business people must invest at least $10 billion in Africa.
So what does that mean? Where did you want to invest that money? I will believe that if you say you want to come and invest in science and technology, that is, you want to assist our university in coming up with different kinds of projects and implements to assist in our agriculture. Fine, okay? But when you now say you want to come and establish, you start getting shops all over the place, competing with our market women, that is not healthy for us at all. So there must be specific areas, there must be no-go areas, which I would love to see in some of this agreement.
The agreement has already been signed, and the businesses in Nigeria, well, some businessmen in Nigeria are quite happy with these Chinese investments?
That's another aspect that I want to address. If the Nigerian government will have the discipline of staying back, allowing the private sector to run the show with China, I have no problem, because it's going to be business, And what it means is that in case there is dispute, the dispute will be resolved on our soil here in our own terms. But what we are against is government-to-government loan, whereby you now collateralize our future. Saying that, okay, we pledge our mines, we pledge our resources, we pledge our this. These are things that you will not be there, when the time comes. Some of you, when you have gone, are you creating problem for the future generation?
It's interesting you say that, because the Minister of Foreign Affairs has, commended this new agreement between Nigeria and China. But I also want to ask if this is probably the reason why the U.S. has been warning African countries against accepting these free monies from China. They feel that there is an ulterior motive, and just like you're pointing out, there probably is.
It's not only U.S. that has been warning Africa. You think Merkel, May, all of them came here for picnic. No, they have seen what most of us don't see, and they came and they advised government, in terms of what to do.
Yeah,
and that.
But aren't they also looking for the same thing?
Yeah, of course, because they themselves believe that probably they've left us, they've left us alone they've created a vacuum between themselves, because they are our traditional partners, in the beginning. So they felt that, okay, they've left us, they've created a vacuum which China wanted to enter. The idea of their coming here is to warn Africa that don't enter into another debt trap, because we are just getting out of one from China. So you cannot substitute West with China. That we are here, we are still here to assist you. So don't take new colonial master, through the back door. So this is the idea, because there is no, as I said, there is no free lunch anywhere. So if you are taking loan, don't mortgage your future. Do the one that you can handle. And as I said, as much as possible, align it with the private sector.